So the most happy couple, Anastasia Steele and Christian Grey, finally tied the knot. And Anastasia has a stalker. So that's basically the premise of the movie. There's really nothing else to for it to ride on other than the infamous sex, which is still and is just as tamed as it was in the other two movies. I mean, if you want that kind of raw sex that 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 it has a reputation for, you're better off watching softcore porn on Cinemax. That has more to offer with that element than what these movies do. Just saying. And I gotta say, this movie shows us once again why these two should not be together. I mean, how they this cannot be happy with each other. I mean, it really does. I mean, the things that Christian says to Anastasia in this movie, it's like, okay, like why? Like if she were in her right state of mind, she would probably want to file for divorce. But I, she should have just stuck with her decision to leave him in the first movie when she had the chance, and for that reason that she has decided to stay with him, then these two move then the rest of then we wouldn't have a trilogy, would we? So I lack remorse, and I have like lack of remorse for that woman, for the character, and I don't know. I mean, the only other logical reason I can think of, or the more realistic reason why she decides to stay with him, is because she enjoys being wrapped around his finger. She is in it for who he is, or for what he is, not for who he is, but a billionaire. I mean, she's in it for the moolah, and that's the only reason I can think of why she decided to take him back and marry him. I mean, come on, it makes perfect sense. And then she, gets herself pregnant by him, and then I refuse to go by the ending of this movie. I prefer, that somewhere down the stretch, like after the ending of what we see in this movie, is that she decides to leave him, divorce settlement, child support, and all, and then she is living comfortably somewhere with their child, and while Christian is being miserable without them, you know? And also, like, there's a scene where Anastasia is driving one of Christian's cars, and they're trying to drive away from her stalker, and then she ends up dodging the stalker through a traffic jam, like where she manages to get through it and all that without getting one scratch on that car, and not hitting so much as a guardrail. I'm like, come on. I mean, Christian. I mean, if it were Christian who were driving, then that would have been more believable. But with Anastasia, I mean, I can't. I mean, like, the fact that she did that without getting a scratch on that car, I refuse to believe that. It's very unrealistic to me. I'm like, you're gonna get a scratch on that car, and she miraculously didn't get one dent or a scratch on that car. I'm like, okay, the plot armor is real with this woman, and it's really, really for realsies. The plot armor that this woman has in this movie, it is ridiculous. and and what really, really intrigues me is how a lot of you fangirls are like, you have experienced, I'm sure you've had experienced some character traits that Christian has with other men, like where he is controlling, he doesn't give you time with your friends, he just shows up unannounced, like when you're hanging out with one of your girlfriends, and forces you what to drink and what to wear and yada yada yada. I mean, you've dealt with that before, and I'm sure a lot of you were like, I'm not talking to that guy anymore. And then now you're like, I want a man like Christian Grey. You had a man like Christian, like I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I'm pretty sure. And but with these sexual allegations being a really hot topic, I mean, the same women here are like, yeah, these pigs need to pay for what they've done. They need to own up to their mistakes. They need to take responsibility. And yet you want a man like Christian. Whatever. And another a good example, here's a really good example of how Anastasia is in it for the money. I mean, Jack tried to, sort of the same shit on her, but he was a bit more aggressive and he's a bit more fucked up than Christian. But, I mean, we see how that quickly went south, and yet, and then Christian with his, controlling ways, like she Anna didn't stay away from him for very long. I mean, she's with the guy, he's rich, and she loves being wrapped around his finger. Makes sense? I mean, I would love to hear people defend that, saying that no, Anna loves Christian for who he is. I mean, she really loves him. I mean, it's not his fault. He has had a fucked up childhood. Yada yada yada. I get it. But it does not change the fact that these two do not belong together. I mean, I give the character props. I give Anastasia props for fighting through that. But at the end of the day, you can just find out that they do not belong together. And it would have been a better ending if she just left the guy, where he said we are not meant for each other. We need to stop this. And the ending to the first movie made a lot of sense. This ending doesn't make a lot of sense. and that's why I did a whole ending that is still in the back, that is going to remain in the back of my head, that she is in it for the money, she had a divorce settlement, child support, and she's living comfortably while he's being miserable by himself. But that all being said, this gets 1 chair spin out of 5. So here we go. 1 chair spin. And but hey, I mean, if you want to defend Anna's actions and Christian's actions, I mean, go right ahead. I already said them. I already know what they are, but it doesn't change the fact that they don't belong together. And tell me why they do belong together. I mean, she found out a little bit more about herself when she started dating him, like where she is starting to be a little bit into that kinky shit or whatever. But I mean, they're clearly unhappy with each other. They're not on the best of terms. I mean, like, they're not always. I don't know. I mean, the fact that they had to talk about having kids after they got married. I mean, like, come on. They should have had that talk while they were engaged. That way she would have a chance to break off the engagement, or at least have second thoughts before the wedding or whatever. But the fact that they waited after they were married to talk about it, see? You see why I like remorse for Anastasia? Anyway, if you guys enjoyed my review for this movie, make sure you thumb up the video and click subscribe if you're new to the channel. Thank you for watching. And I gotta say, before I go, I went into that theater saying to myself, this is it. This is gonna be it. I'm gonna just think about how great you're gonna feel when you walk out of that theater. And the best way to watch these movies is Mystery Science Theater 3000 style, where you just sit there and have your own commentary and just make fun of it as you're watching it. That's the best way to watch a movie as underwhelming as this. And then when I walked out of that theater, I felt freed. Pun intended. Not because it was a great movie, but the fact that this whole thing is finally over. Finally over. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.